the amazing Shim Ravalia.
The hunger came when there was pain. Then halfway through the year, my dad passed away. So that was literally the icing on the cake kind of thing. Just like I just didn't know where I was going. It's a painful part of my journey, but also a part that has been the most transformational. I didn't want to share my business with anyone because I thought, oh, they're going to just take it and go away. So the biggest thing I ever learned was, how do I help myself first? Unapologetically, selfishly.
There is a lot of BS in our industry that say, in order to be successful, you must do this.
There's a shadow side to personal development and entrepreneurship, which is it's constantly telling you that you're broken. That's not true. Trying to be positive all the time is quite negative too. If you don't use a muscle, you end up losing it. Intuition is very similar to that.
Welcome back to Inspired By. Now, today's guest is a 5-time international best-selling co-author. She's the expert in connection. She's someone who I'm very proud to say is a very close friend. She puts up with a lot of shit from me, and one of my incredible business partners. Please welcome to the show, the amazing Shim Ravalia. Shim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Do you know what? It's so funny because when I do all these interviews, I get to speak to people that I know not a lot about, and I might read their books or watch their TV shows or listen to other episodes.
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to say that I know the most about you than any other guest I've had on the show, which I don't know is a good thing or is possibly a detriment, because I want to make sure we actually get to the detail of what the audience needs to know about you.
Absolutely. When you first asked me to be on your show, I was like, what more do you want? I've declared everything. I was like, bring it on.
Hands up. So obviously, Shim, I do know a lot about you, but I know our listeners, our viewers may not. So tell our viewers, our listeners, a little bit about Shim Ravalia and maybe a bit before the life of business that you've created of today.
Thank you. Yeah, great question. So I guess my journey started out with sports therapy, health and fitness, personal training, nutrition. I really went down studying a lot. Like I was in Kent Uni for like 5 years. I did a bachelor's degree for 3 years full time. Then I went straight into master's. My mum was like, go ahead and do a PhD and be a doctor. And I was like, well, that's another 7 years of learning. No, thank you. I just really wanted to get out there and help people and just put what I've actually learnt to practice. So health and fitness industry has been like nearly, 20 years now.
Wow.
And I've really just, I would say, gone down the rabbit hole of health as to why I've gone more down into gut health and then more into really understanding how we connect with ourselves in order to connect in the best way that you can show up for other people and with other people. So yeah, like it's just been a bit of a journey. I think the most common question I get asked is, what age are you? You've done so much. You look 21. I was like, wow, you're my new best friend. Thank you. But I have done a hell of a lot. And majority of it has been in health and wellness and fitness. And I've really moved away from that and really totally feel inspired by understanding how do we actually connect with ourselves. It's not so much to do with, it is to do with diet, it is to do with how we move, how we sleep, but this goes so much deeper, layers and layers deeper if you choose to go down that way, which I did, obviously. And really looked at the ugly truth of myself more. Wow. The BS, the stories, the limiting beliefs, all of that sort of stuff, to really get to where I am today. Because that's where I knew I intuitively was feeling. I was like, I need to go through this stuff, whatever this extreme stuff is, to be able to come out to the other side, whatever the other side looks like. But I knew I just had to go down that journey. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. And I think it's funny that you joke that people ask you how old you are, because you do look so young for what you've achieved. And I remember when I first met you, and obviously we started a business together, which we'll talk about later, but you've just achieved so much and you've been in business the longest than any of our business partners in our business.
Yeah.
What would you say has kept you in business? Because let's be honest, a lot of entrepreneurs, some of our clients, even with our own business, they really want to start a business. And most people say, not many businesses survive past 2 years. You've been in business for over 10 years. Yeah. What has kept you in business? What a part of it have you gone, do you know what? I can't give this shit up.
Yeah. Great question. If I go back to the first time I ever wanted to do business, which was about 11 years ago, I hated being told what to do. I really don't like it much.
I think I can relate to that, being your business partner, but let's not go down that track today.
So yeah, I don't like being told what to do. a lot of the times. I have ideas that I love planting the seed, creating it, and building a team that can help me carry my mission and vision. I don't like rules that much. And I am a bit of I like to create my own flow. I don't really like to go with the flow. And that's why I would say I'm unemployable. I don't really if I go back to, if you ever looked at my CV, there's only a handful of jobs on there. And the rest of it has been just my entrepreneurial journey, being in being interested in this business, that business, collaborating with that person and so on. I just had to really accept that I just didn't like all those rules. So it's just like, okay, I can make it something of my own. And every single business that I have had, I've just created it from scratch.
Wow.
And not gone, yeah, I'd like to do that franchise. I was like, no, I want to create something from scratch my way. So yeah, that's been an exciting journey. Yeah, I've been told off a few times, but it's cool.
She's looking at me, smiling like someone in particular. No, I'm joking. So I think it's fascinating that you have been in business so long and now we know why you've stayed in business.
Yeah.
Where did the hunger for entrepreneurship come in your life? Is there a particular person that really triggered it or a moment?
Great. Yeah. I have to go back to my childhood, and it's quite fresh in my mind right now because I recently spoke about it in a chapter in a book, and it really goes back to the games I used to play as a kid. And I used to play shop in my living room. I used to create my own shop, sell my reading books. Peter Rabbit was the most expensive collection in there for £1. And I used to force my parents, my brother, my sister, my cousins that used to go around. I was like, please come to my shop and spend fake money. Here's some money and buy my books, buy this. Like, what else can I help you with? How can I serve you better today? Kind of stuff. And I just had a lot of fun with it. And I used to, when I got a bit older, 10, 11, I was like, what shop can I make out of my bedroom right now? And I used to have a whole load of CD collections, and I used to have a CD shop. And that hour price, if you remember back in the days, used to inspire me to do that. I was like, yeah, CDs, just lots and lots of things. Clothes. I used to open up my cupboard full of clothes. I was like, put them on like a clothes shop. It was always there. I was like, oh, let me try that. I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. It's what everyone else is doing that puts me off. I was like, I can create my own lane. I can do my own thing. I don't need to follow the herd. What society's doing or what everyone else is doing. Same thing with school, same thing with college. It was actually my sister that inspired me more. She was like, don't do what I did and follow the herd. You are going to a different college. Hang on, I'm going to take you to the open days. And she physically took me to the open days that no one else from my school went to these colleges. I was the only person that went to City of Westminster College for 2 years in West London, kind of that way. An hour and a half to trek there and back, but worth it for 2 years, because without that I wouldn't be where I am today. So I guess the biggest lesson was don't follow the herd. Don't just be the same as everyone else. Just create your own lane. There's plenty for everyone going around.
Do you know, I really relate to that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, when they are starting out in their careers, they feel like they have to follow and continue the norm.
Yeah.
And when I actually left my education, I was in an all-girls school, private education. My parents put a lot of money into it and couldn't afford a lot else because of it.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very well-known school in the island I was born, and very expensive. I was the only person in my whole year group that said they didn't want to go to university. Not because I didn't want to, we couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And I still remember going to the careers part of the day. We had 2 hours a week, I think, to apply for universities, do all of the sort of studies and things we had to do. And the first day in that week at school, I said, oh, I'm not going to university. I'd already had the conversation with my parents. And the teacher turned around, I said, so what can I do in these hours now? And she went, you may as well have a free period because I can't help you. There was nothing else. There was no, let's help you do your CV. Let's help you do your cover letter. Let's help you apply for jobs. And I remember leaving that class, seeing all my friends still in the classroom, walking down the corridor, everyone else in class thinking, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Yeah. And I think sometimes it is a lonely journey, challenging the norm, because otherwise everybody would doing it. Therefore, you're not challenging it. So where did your hunger to challenge the norm actually come from?
I would say it started in 2012, but I still went into the first business with an employee mindset because I struggled for the first 2-3 years. the hunger came when there was pain. So I know some people start businesses and they instantly want to label themselves with, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business owner. But you know what? What does that even mean? And I actually, after 3 years of doing it on my own and being the martyr and didn't want to share my business with anyone because I thought, oh, they're going to just take it and go away and use it and whatever, and I'll be left with nothing. So the whole fear of abandonment and being used and all this sort of stuff started to come in a lot. But that's where the hunger came. I was like, no, this isn't right. I need help. I need someone to help me, guide me to where I actually want to go. That's when I really understood entrepreneurship. That's when I actually really started to get really hungry for business. I think the first 3 years, I just left the job because I was like, fuck this. I'm bored. I can do this job with my eyes closed. I love the benefits, but it's not enough. I was too uncomfortable being comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, but I didn't get entrepreneurship straight away. I was still running that business with a job mentality, and that got me in a lot of trouble with finances, not sort of thinking outside the box and how to grow and scale the business. It was just me for 3 years until I actually got out my own way. I realized, yeah, I'm the bottleneck here. This ain't great. I am not going back to the job. No way. It's just a feeling. So I was like, right, something has to change. I just got to take a different course of action. Let's go out and not sleep.
And for a lot of people, when they start jobs when they quit their jobs and they start a business.
Yeah.
If I can speak directly and openly, a lot of parents have a oh shit moment, but they don't tell their kids that.
Yeah.
Because they say, why don't you go and get a job? How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to actually make money? Because I think a lot of parents are fearful of their child, daughter, son getting in pain. What was your parents' reaction when you said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to leave this safe environment of my comfy, cozy job and I'm going to start my sports therapy business?
Great question. No one's actually ever asked me that question. I think they were absolutely fine with it. There was no push and pull with it. There was no sort of going, what the hell are you doing? Like, you've just got rid of a good job. Because, by the way, I left the job, handed in my notice, and within 30 days, I had a business.
Wow. Like,
registered and my clinic room, everything within 30 days. So I move pretty quickly when I want to and need to. But there was no push or pull from them. They actually was like, yeah, go for it. Because I think my brother was also in business at the time. So they'd already seen, and my aunt as well. So, they've already kind of got the gist of, yeah, okay, Shim wants to do a business. She wants to do her own thing. Great, go for it. I think where they had the sort of hesitation as to where I was going is the concept of money, because you would agree with me that starting out in business, you're not going to start making thousands, millions straight away in like 30 days or even a year. Like, there is a lot of challenges. And I think from my parents, they both come from a background of job, survival, mentality, and it's always been there. Like, they had 2-3 jobs, sort of helping 3 kids get an education, a roof over their heads. So, which I'm super, super grateful for. But I'm now in a position where I just want to break that pattern, and I've broken that pattern, and that pattern doesn't serve me. So selfishly, I'm going to break it and not sort of enable it, if that makes sense. So they don't always get that I've been in books. Why am I doing all these podcasts? What's the point? Like, my mum still thinks I'm like a fitness consultant. I was like, not anymore, mum. So we laugh and joke about it at times, but sometimes it's frustrating. But yeah, they really value money, whereas I do value money, but I also value like connecting with people. I also value growth in a different way, success in a different way. I guess it's just all about the meaning of success to you. Success doesn't always mean money. It's very external. I think success for me is more how I'm feeling internally. It's not just about the fancy cars, the house and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, great question.
Yeah. Love this. So when you're running your business, obviously it can, like you said, it can be uncomfortable, but also we can get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I always think that with entrepreneurs like us who are what we call serial entrepreneurs or have lots of businesses, lots of books, like we're always hungry.
Yeah.
I always look back at people's history and see something that has been a catalyst, a moment where they've gone, holy shit, I need to change something. Maybe something's happened to us, to our loved ones, or even just in our business.
Yeah.
What would you say has been the biggest breakthrough moment for you in your 10 years in business that has got you to change your path or make changes to get you to where you are today?
Like to really look at myself. It would have to be when my dad passed away. So it'll be 4 years in June. So 4 years ago, I'd left the first business. Like I just wasn't passionate about it anymore. And I knew I could do more, but I just didn't know what it was. And then halfway through the year, my dad passed away. So that was literally the icing on the cake kind of thing. I was like, my health wasn't great. I was kind of all over the place, like a lost puppy in like a storm, if that makes sense. It was just like, I just didn't know where I was going. But I was there for family, but not really there for myself. And it's a painful part of my journey, but also a part that has been the most transformational because it made me think, you know, when he left, like it really made me think, what the hell am I actually doing? Like I really questioned, like nobody else, I questioned myself. I remember sitting there by myself on the living room, and it was during the time that, you know, loads of people visiting and stuff. And I was just in my own bubble, my own space, and just asked myself, what is it that you want to do? What actually genuinely makes you happy and fulfilled? What do you want to do next? The reason why I asked myself that question is because my dad worked extremely hard. Like he has got his family in India and he's obviously got us here. And he worked and worked. He worked for Ford for 20 years. But the last 10 years of his life, like he had a tumour in the brain. So it was always hospital visits every 6 months, MRI scans, you know, all sorts of stuff, chemotherapy, all of that. And I was like, well, I could work, I guess. I could make the money. Where's my body going though? I was really suffering a lot at that time, not just physically head to toe, but mentally and emotionally. I was like, I don't want this. Something has got to change. I've got to change. I've got to take a different way of taking action on this because I'm not settling for this. And I think my dad's departure from this world has really taught me an excellent lesson. And I just encourage everyone to just once a week at least just check in with yourself and go, how are you actually doing? You feel fulfilled? You feel happy? No, let's do something about it. Not just wallow and just feel like, oh, there's nothing out there or whatever. Like, I just think it's a very important question that you owe it to yourself every single week, if not daily.
Wow. I get shivers every time you mention that, because obviously we only recently talked about that with a project that we're both working on at the minute.
Yeah.
And I still remember the first time you ever said that out loud, and I got shivers, and I still get shivers now because it upsets me a lot that people have to go through something that can be so sad and traumatic for many.
Yeah.
That has to be the moment. But I value you sharing there about checking in and going, are you okay? Am I okay? Asking each other if we're okay.
Yeah.
There's a very, very cool Radio 1 presenter, Roman Kemp, actually wrote a book very recently called How Are You Really?
Yeah.
And in this book, I've read it, it's fantastic. I saw him interviewed with Fern Cotton when the book came out. And he talks about one of his very good friends, producer, who took his own life, who was like always star of the show, very bubbly and very friendly. But he used to always say, how are you, mate? And the guy would go, yeah, cool. And actually, underneath that, it's not, he wasn't, yeah, cool. He was actually suffering. But and Roman puts it down to, I didn't ask the better question. I didn't ask the right question. You know, I didn't connect with him. Yeah. And this comes into what we often talk about with our own stuff is like, how are we connecting with people? How are we asking the right questions?
Yeah.
So I suppose to put that to you, what do you think we can be doing better to connect with others and actually ask the right questions to check in? People going, are you actually fucking okay?
Yeah. Great question. One of the biggest things I've always spoken about with gut health and gut brain connection is that when somebody comes to you goes, or if somebody comes up to you goes, hey, how you doing? What do you really want them to really ask you? Or if I was to ask you, Chloë, I was like, how you doing, Chloë? Yeah, I'm not great. What would I say to that to add value and help you? Most people, and I know most of my friends have said this in the past, they go, don't worry about it. It's Friday or it's Wednesday. Let's just go down the pub, have a few drinks, just forget about it. How you help someone will determine how successful that connection is. And I think, how do you help yourself then? Because that's a true reflection, I feel. If I ever said to somebody, yeah, let's just go down to the pub and just drink our worries away, it's all fun, and sing and dance in the rain or something like that, I think that gives me an insight as to how that person helps themselves or not. So the biggest thing I ever learned was, how do I help myself first? Unapologetically, selfishly, right? Like, how you connect with others determines how you connect with yourself. If you're one of those people where you forget about yourself and you put yourself to the side, which I have done, and you just go onto this people-pleasing path of just making sure you're there for everyone, but not yourself, sooner or later you're going to burn out. Sooner or later you're going to get frustrated, and sooner or later you're going to be just resentful with life. And for me, that was not okay. I just didn't want to go down that path. I knew that was going to come up. At that point, I knew myself a bit too well. I was like, yeah, I get to do this differently. Yeah, 100%. So, by the end of that year of 2018, where I lost my dad, I didn't have the business at the time, and I was kind of just in limbo, if you call it. By the end of that year, I just had a gut infection for 4 years that I didn't even know I had, literally under my skin. So I was like, how many things in the last 6 years that I allowed to get under my skin, that I didn't speak up about, that pissed me off, and I just didn't do anything about it. I went, no, it's okay. It's fine. Well, that really pissed me off. I should have said something. And it just festers and festers away at night when you can't sleep. That will manifest how you show up in the body, like the symptoms. It's just all communication. When you really look at it, your body's always communicating at you. You've got answers right under your nose. So for me, that has been massively transformational. And I use that same tools in business, how I connect with people, friends, family, like every day, and including myself. So
interesting. What would you say stops people? Let's go specifically entrepreneurs, because I'm not saying anyone who's listening or watching, you don't also struggle to put yourself first. A lot of mums will put their families first. A lot of people will put people before themselves. But I've noticed it a lot the most in entrepreneurs, because they put everything, their life, their business, and they are the bottom of the pile. What would you say to people like that about reconnecting with themselves?
I think if you're in business, or if you're an entrepreneur that wants to prove something to someone else, stop doing that. Because you don't make it about the business, you're making it about proving yourself to someone else. And I know that because that's the first thing I did. I ran a marathon as well. It's like years ago, just to prove that I could do a marathon, but my body was in bits after it. But it's the same sort of mentality with business. I was like, if you're just doing it to prove that you can make money, or you prove that you can do a business, stop doing that. Think about why. We don't ask enough about why we're doing a lot of things. I have conversations every week with female entrepreneurs through networking online, through my businesses, our business. And one of the questions I always ask is, okay, why is this so important to you? Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to take this particular path? And they go into the what and the how. I was like, no, but I asked why. And it's the same thing. Mentors that have asked me, why though? Dig deep. Entrepreneurship, I've said this before, is an inside job. Always has been, always will be. It's not an external thing. That's why most businesses do not last a year or two. Why entrepreneurs hop from one business to another, to another, to another with a trail of mess behind them. Look at it from the inside out, not outside, and then keep it outside. So, yeah.
What do you think is the scariest part, though, of really digging deep and looking in? Because let's be honest, it's definitely not easy. And sometimes you do get a slap in the face of something you didn't expect to find. So what do you think stops people from digging deep?
Just the ugliness of it. Like, it's raw. It's vulnerable shit. Like, it really is. Things that you've probably don't even realize you've just layered upon plasters and masked it with whatever stories you wanted, because you just don't want to go there. It's so uncomfortable that you'd rather just be happy the way you are. And that's okay too, but don't moan about the results as well, or lack of. So it's really uncomfortable. It's not sexy work at all. And I think that's the biggest problem as well, especially in gut health and entrepreneurship. Everyone wants the glorified stuff. I was like, you got to do the work. I wouldn't be sat here in your studio right now if I didn't do the crap work, the stuff that just made me uncomfortable, the stuff that had made me cry days on end, even at night, to a point where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. You have to go through that uncomfortable journey to come out to the other side. It's not the glorified stuff that people often gets portrayed on social media, or certain particular entrepreneurs that might say that, you know, do this and that and you're good as gold. I think that's bullshit.
Yeah, Shim, I love this. As you can probably tell, Shim and I do like having a good swear off when we get passionate about it. It's always from passion, not aggression.
Yeah.
So we talk about being an inside job. I couldn't agree with you more. And one of the things that I know we've had lots of late night conversations about, and lots of deep conversations about, is where intuition fits in.
Yeah.
Where does it fit in when it comes to this inside job and peeling back the layers, and also then leveraging that to get results?
So intuition is something that you're born with. As a human being, we all have intuition. And intuition, like, if you do, you can call it what you want. You can call it spirit, you can call it angels, you can call it just a deep knowing. And it often gets suppressed by how we treat ourselves, how we look after ourselves. A bit like if you don't use a muscle, you end up losing it. Intuition is very similar to that. I mean, if we are feeding our brains with crap, like we're listening to toxic people, not people that add value to our lives, or if we're not drinking enough water, we're eating crap after crap after crap, and we just feel sluggish, intuition will get suppressed. And when you need to use it, or when your intuition needs to be there for you, it may not be there for you, and you might still be in like your ego in your head. So the brain gut brain connection often gets I often like to call it a telephone pole between the stomach and the brain, and it often gets frayed, it often gets disconnected. And that's how I see intuition, if we were to put a visual picture on it. So the more you actually look after yourself inside out, the better it wakes up more. And you'll know, you won't even need to check in like with yourself, you just know, you can feel it. And it's a feeling more than a description of words. But the best way to actually access it is just look at how you're feeding yourself. Sleep. Are we getting enough sleep? Probably not. If we're starting out in entrepreneurship, or if you're just like a busy mum or a busy dad, running around with kids or multiple jobs or whatever it is, that often just suppresses it all the time, because we end up getting in this merry-go-round chase of life, society. So, yeah.
Wow. I've never heard it mentioned like that, because I've done a lot of the woo stuff around tuning into intuition, meditating, journaling, closing your eyes, doing visualizations. I love the angle that you've taken though, which is more to do with actually, are you feeding your intuition?
Yeah.
Are you fueling it to start speaking to you?
Yeah.
When it comes to fueling your intuition, what's the first few things that we can do to be able to actually start to unlock it, maybe if we have suppressed it before?
Yeah. The easiest way is I always go down the physical stuff first, because that's the easiest way. I don't think you can access it if you're just gunked up, if I put it lightly. Get to bed on time. I'm saying the most simple things, and anyone that's hearing this, they'll probably like, yeah, get to bed on time. Yes, get a good night's sleep. But generally, sleep and understanding where your stress levels come are the two most undervalued elements of health that people don't take seriously. It's like, I can catch up on sleep. No, you can't. You can actually give yourself jet lag if you didn't sleep properly. You don't need to go to another country with a different time zone to be able to do that. So understanding, like, just getting to bed earlier, like 60 to 90 minutes, switch off any digital stuff. Like, we're so glued to our phones that we rely on just instantaneous stuff, like done. Like the amount of food apps that are out there now, like, you don't have to get off your bum. You just answer the door and then there you go. Nobody's moving enough. I think moving, sleeping well, water, just getting those elements right will help you just clear some of the pipes that are inside our body. Not literally, but like, just clear it out. Just clear out the BS, like just clear out the gunk. It's a bit like a house. If the pipes are all blocked up, what happens? It's an overflow of stuff. Yeah, that's the easiest way. Once you get into a pattern of that, just body scanning's brilliant. Just lie on the bed, or like on a couch, close your eyes for 5 minutes and just feel, just relax, see where the tension is. Like often I do that just like in between calls if I'm working from home, close my eyes, and then a lot of tension's on my forehead, my shoulders, and I just literally melt. I was like, just relax. 5 minutes. Give yourself 5 minutes. We all have 5 minutes. There's no such thing as I don't have time to do this. That's just BS. And then you'll go, oh, I didn't realise that that was there, that pain. The more awareness you have for yourself, your intuition will help you. It's your best friend. If you don't have awareness, you cannot possibly change because you don't know what you need to change. And how do you take responsibility for that? Because you don't know, there's no awareness. So awareness always for me comes first, responsibility second, and actions third. So that's how I would do it. That's how I have done it. So
brilliant. And where does intuition fit when it comes to inspiration? Obviously, we're here talking about being inspired by people. We're currently being inspired by you, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Where do you believe inspiration and intuition fit? Are they connected?
I believe so. I think one of my core values in life is play. And I love having fun. You know that. Like in business, I was like, we need to have some fun here. And I think it's tapping into our creativity. Like sometimes life just gets us to just think in a logical, black and white way. And I'm like, yeah, great. How do we balance that out? Like what I spoke about earlier is like all the little games I used to play as a kid. Do you know what? Think about the games you used to play as a kid. What inspired you to play those games, to be creative, to make up your own games, all that sort of stuff. Bring that into your adult life. People ask me, why do you look so young? That's one of the things I do, right? Less wrinkles, less grey hairs.
I'm starting tomorrow.
Great. So to answer your question, it is play. Like get creative. Like even in business, entrepreneurship is creative, but we get into the rabbit hole of the 9 to 5. The 5 a.m. club. Like, I don't believe in any of that stuff. Create your own flow. Stop going with the flow. That's someone else's. That's where inspiration, intuition really kick in. Like, you just feel inspired to listen to your intuition and just follow it through. Forget the how. That's your child ego coming in. Just park that to the side. Just follow it through. You just never know. It's like opening a door, Alice Wonderland. Just going, hey, oh, great. Well, that door. You just don't know.
See where it all leads you.
Exactly.
And Shim, I love it because we obviously do a lot of talks on stage together. We run a lot of events together. We run a lot of panels together. And you mentioned there about the 5 a.m. club, and let's call it out what it is. I'm not saying that the 5 a.m. club doesn't work, but I don't think it needs to be at 5 a.m. It's the principles, it's the concepts. And there is a lot of BS in our industry that are podcasts, TV shows, books that say, in order to be successful, you must do this. And it does piss us off a little bit. We talk about it quite openly on our own stages. What pisses you off about this industry that we're being told to do it this way, and if we don't do it that way, it won't work?
I love this question. So what pisses me off is the fact that there's a shadow side to personal development and entrepreneurship, which is it's constantly telling you that you're broken, that you need to fix something. Once you've done that, you need to go on to the next thing and next thing and next thing. I think it's all about learning it, great, implementing it, and just carry on with that. I used to be one of those people that did podcasts, like listen to podcasts after podcasts, books after books, audiobooks, read books. I was like, okay, if I do this, I'll get this result. That's not true. Like I think it's a time waster in that way. Like, oh, I've got to get up at 5 a.m. because that guru told me to. I get up at 5 a.m. and yeah, it's not great. And then by the end of the day, I'm exhausted and I just still haven't got the results I want. So what needs to change then? Stop following the herd. So I do believe there's a rather dark side to that, the whole personal development side of things. I think it can go a bit negative. I think trying to be positive all the time is quite negative too. Like, I think it's good to embrace and validate that. Like, okay, I'm not having a great day, fine. Or yeah, this is going really, really well. It's just a balancing act. It's an equilibrium. So I don't think it's just a constant train track of learning all the time. You're just feeding, like, goes back to fueling your brain, feeding your body. You're just feeding lots of stuff, lots of information, but it's an information overload and a mess, quite frankly. So what do you do with it? Be specific be picky what you want to learn, and then implement it. Like, stay on track with what you want to stay on track for.
Yeah.
And not just because everyone's doing 5 a.m, I've got to do 5 a.m. Everyone's doing this, so I've got to do that. Like, I'm not the type of person to do that. That's why I do what I do. So
yeah. I've seen that firsthand with many different things. And I love the fact that you said it how it is there with the personal development space that assumes that you are broken.
Yeah.
What I have seen in the space as well, obviously I've had a lot of results from mentors in this industry who have helped me through a lot of my mentorship. You have been one of them that's helped me through a lot of that too personally. But the frustration I have is that the reason it keeps us feeling broken is because then we're staying in the space.
Yeah.
Right? What's your views on businesses that create a co-reliance with their clients, like certain mentors that are going, you're broken, you need to fix this, but that doesn't work, so you need to come back and get fixed again? Yeah, tell me about that.
I think it causes a massive disconnect. I think initially when you work with a mentor, because there was a need, that need has now been fulfilled with working with them for however long you've worked with them. But then this whole, you need me back, this creates codependency. It's more about that person than you, if that makes sense. Like, I've been part of masterminds, I've been part of mentoring, coaches, programs, all sorts of things. And I get to a point where I'm like, I don't need it anymore. Imagine like a kid, go back to childhood, like a child's like, no, I don't want that. I'm done playing with that toy. It's the same thing with mentoring and coaching and program. I'm done with it. I've got what I needed. I don't need to renew. I can move on. It's the same with my gut programs. I always say, I don't ever want to see you again. And I say that with love and kindness. They were like, why? I was like, because once you've gone through it, you don't really need it again. I've taught you the foundations which you've created for your own lifestyle. That's it. It works. Not a cookie cutter approach. And I think codependency is quite dangerous sometimes in the coaching space, in the mentoring space, because it's just feeding this false, this falseness about it. I think it's just like, it's not true. You don't constantly need that person to mentor you. You've learned what you should have learned, and then come out of it feeling fulfilled, happy, and getting the results continuously. So yeah.
And it's about that development of that relationship, right?
Yeah.
Because we can have mentors that we start off with because we know nothing about an area, and then we develop into it.
Yeah.
And so for example, Rob Moore's been a mentor of mine in the past. Obviously he helps with podcasts. We're here for a reason. Shock horror, he's supported me and I've been trained by him through that. There's processes then where you start as a student, you then might become the mentor with them, you might partner up with them. That's what happened with us.
Yeah.
You were one of my clients when
true.
I first started delivering an agency model around people getting more visibility. And you were running the gut intuition. You came to me and said, Chloe, I need to build my brand. I want to build my authority. We got you on covers of the Business Women Today magazine, got you on loads of podcasts, got you in books, and continue to level up. Been on, Thrive Global is a fantastic platform that you came on.
Yeah.
And then you completed that level. And then when we were building my business, Queens, as it was then just myself, Queens in Business, I was looking for experts that can come in and add value and actually who could build it with me and become business partners. Yeah. You then hit that new level. And that was a whole, they say new level, new devil. That was like a whole fucking new devil, right? And it's been 2 years now and we've been in business together. So this is where I think the personal development and mentorship space can be really cool because, and if anyone's watching this or listening to this and you're thinking, I need to keep growing, ask yourself, how can I turn my mentor into my partner? How can I turn my mentor into a joint venture? How can I turn my coach into someone that I then help? Because that's the exchange of value. And if your mentor is growing and you're growing with them, I mean, as a mentor, I always say to my clients, I really hope you overtake us. Because that means my fucking work is complete and we've done a great job, especially because we help people with building their authority.
Absolutely.
I'd love for my clients to go, I've got a best-selling book. Do you want to be in it? Or I've got a top-ranking podcast. Can I interview you? I'd be like, fucking hell yeah.
I've got my own event. Do you want to speak on our stage?
Exactly, right? So obviously we've now done that with Queens in Business. We've been in business for 2 years. For anyone who hasn't heard us talk about it, it's been a fantastic journey.
Certainly has.
What would you say has been your biggest learning in really scaling up to a business of the size that Queens in Business now is?
Yeah, the biggest thing I learned that every problem is a leadership problem. Massively. Because I went into partnership with Queens, with you and the others 2 years ago, bringing in what I knew already about business, grew it to the scale that I did, but then there were challenges, there were hurdles that we needed to overcome, personal hurdles that I needed to level myself up by being the leader, the next level leader that I needed to be. and build a team, work with not one, but 5 business partners, and understanding each other as well as myself. So this goes back to everything that we spoke about, like connection, intuition, communication, all of those sort of things. I had to really level up. And yeah, it's been uncomfortable sometimes, but I had to really embrace it. I loved embracing it, in fact, because I know what's coming on the other side. So it's just enjoying that short-term pain to really see the long-term effects of it. And look where we are now. Like, it's just brilliant. And we have so much fun taking the piss out of each other. It's amazing.
You do it so fucking well.
I know. So I connect.
And when it comes to, obviously, our clients now, we help mainly female entrepreneurs to get more visibility, get more authority.
Yeah.
What do you think stops women particularly from standing in their power and get taken seriously as a female entrepreneur?
I think it's about the feeling of feeling small, the fear of being, oh my God, they're going to look at me and see what I do and they're going to take the piss or they're going to judge. And I'm talking from experience as to sometimes where, especially in my earlier days of business, I was like, I don't know if this is good. I don't know if I should raise my hand, because I was like this at school a lot. And I don't know if I should speak to that person over there, but if I do, what would I bloody say? Or who am I to even do this? Maybe I should just carry on what I'm doing because it's just safer. I'm scared. Like, I think a lot of people don't want to admit that they're scared, but it's a scary thing. And one of the biggest things I learnt with networking, when I really first started out, I was just like, what do I do here? Like, there's a room full of guys and a few ladies, and I was just like, what do I do? And all I will say is just get used to embracing the awkwardness. Just be fine with being awkward. I am the most awkward person networking, and that's how I've like made the connections, like spoken to people, collaborated with people, like got opportunities, and vice versa, just added value. Like, I had to come out of that shell. I think you do have to put your big girl pants on, and eventually you will get to a point. You go, I'm sick and tired of just being sick and tired of this stuff. I'm just going to go out and do it. I'm sure you've had many times where it was like, well, no, fuck it. I'm just going to just need to go and do it. And sometimes it really literally is go and do it. Make it happen. That was like my ultimate slogan for last year. I was like, make it happen.
Fucking love that.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you mentioned the raising your hand thing, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, whether you're talking about that metaphorically or actually raising your hand, a lot of us don't want to ask. And we have that voice in our heads that make us judge ourselves, or even worse, criticize and be the worst critic, going, God, Chloe, you shouldn't have said that, or you should have done that better. And what I've experienced is that voice never gets quieter. So if you guys are listening to this or watching this and you're thinking, when I'm successful, that voice will go away, I'm really sorry to tell you, it ain't going anywhere, right? Yeah. What you got to do, which I've learned, and I've actually been inspired a lot by Shim in this, because I've seen what she's like at events. I'm like, fucking hell, I can't keep up with her. She's everywhere.
You're like, should we sit together? I was like, no.
I'm like, please sit next to me. I like us chatting through it. And she's like, no, I want to be over there chatting to that person. And it was actually you who recently, Shim and I attended an event earlier this year where Joe Wicks was the headline speaker. Yeah. And it was actually Shim who actually inspired me. She has no idea I'm going to say this, to actually just get put out my own way and actually ask him a question. And so I still remember raising my hand. They said, has anyone got any questions for Joe? And I mean, I was quite close to the front and I was wearing a very, very bright blazer, as you can probably imagine.
Yeah.
And I just raised my hand like so quickly. And Nick, who was interviewing him, a really good friend of mine, and Shim's, Nick James, said, yeah, Chloe, you go first. Now, because I was the first speaker, or the first person asking the question, it felt like about an hour between them passing me the fucking microphone and me raising my hand. So I raised my hand and I'm stood up then, and I'm waiting for the mic. And as I'm waiting for the mic, this voice is going, I can't believe you're going to ask the question. And what are you going to ask? What is everyone going to think of you? You know, sit back down, Chloe. And all these voices. And then I'm having this conversation in my head going, no, why can't I fucking ask him this question, right? Yeah. So as the mic comes over, and in my head, by the way, Shim and I are not sat next to each other because Shim likes to network, and I'm sat somewhere else. And I know Shim's further behind me. I'm thinking, go on, Chloe. Shim would be going, just fucking ask the question. And so I get there and I've got the mic and I say, so Joe, I have a podcast, Inspired By, and I always ask this question to our guests: who inspires you the most? And he turned around and he went, that's a fantastic question. And all of a sudden, just that validation, yes, he answered the question fantastically well. And I'm not going to share that here. One day, maybe I can ask him on the show, who knows? The fact he validated it and said, that's a fantastic question. It was like, I could feel it from my head to my toes.
Yeah.
It just flowed down. And actually that fear, that judgment, that self-doubt was gone. And my question for you, Shim, is that unfortunately not everyone has you metaphorically or actually next to them, like I do, saying, fucking just get out your own way and go and do it.
Yeah.
And also not a lot of people have the strength to stand up and deal with that self-doubt afterwards. Some of them hear it, listen to it and believe it and sit back down and go, no, don't worry. I don't need my question answered. What would you say to the women that are listening to this that have a question they want to ask? Maybe one of us, maybe a celebrity. They don't want to send that voice note in the DMs going, hi, sorry to interrupt you, but I'd love to ask this question.
Yeah.
What would you say to those women about getting out of their own way?
Great question. I would say, and I did this a lot, write it out. Just for you to see. For you, your ego, yourself, for you as a human, to just, whatever question you've got, write it out on a piece of paper and just read it out. And it's the repetitive nature of it that helps that person get out of their own way. Because it's a strategy that I just come up with myself. And it was just like, that actually works. Because then I got used to just speaking to a random person at an event or birthday or whatever. I go, oh, hey, I've got a question actually. I'm really interested. And it just flows. Because you've been used to asking that question. You've been used to raising your hand. And you've got to be a teacher and a student in that moment for yourself. So the best thing you can ever do is pen or pencil, whatever it is, or your favourite colour. Get a piece of paper, blank piece of paper, and just write out the question that I've got all these burning desire to find the answer for. And when the opportunity presents itself, because it will, because the universe always listens, you will be in that position. The confidence will just come out more. And no such thing as you don't have confidence. Everybody has confidence. It's just, again, like intuition gets suppressed. Okay, so you got that fire in your belly. To ignite that fire again, write out those questions on a piece of paper. There's nothing more powerful than just doing that. In fact, you taught me that with books. Goes, stop doing it on a laptop. I was like, really? get a book. And I did. And actually got gifted a book for Christmas and I never used it for a year until recently. And I just started writing out stuff that I needed to put in content and books and things like that. And I definitely, it's the simplest thing you could do. And then see where that next step leads you. So yeah.
Fantastic. And it's interesting, Shim, because you mentioned it there and I was going to go, am I going to go there? Am I allowed to go there? But I think it's fair that we can have a bit of an exclusive here. So what Shim is referring to actually is writing her first book, because as many of you know, I run a publishing business, Inspired by Publishing. And Shim you've been co-authored in five
books,
5 international best-selling books.
Counting, yeah.
And I called you on it at the beginning of this year, end of last year actually. We were in Spain and Valencia together.
Yes.
And I said, Shim, what needs to happen for you to finally write your own book? And it felt great because she's always saying to me, what needs to happen for you to be able to do this and this and this? So I returned the favor with that question and we had a chat and you decided to write your first book. Now, I know that it is almost finished. We have a launch date. It's planned. I'm not going to reveal it here because I'll get in trouble if I reveal it here. Yeah. Tell us about the book. Tell us about the concept and where your inspiration to have this book, your own book, for the first time.
I think I dipped my toes with the other books first. Like actually 2021 is when I started writing this book and I stopped. And I said to I BS'd myself by saying, I'll come back to it later. And I never did until I started working with you a lot closer this year in regards to launching and creating my first ever book. I feel I was ready to just put the last 10 or more years into this one amazing book to help people connect with themselves better. So really talk about, gut-brain connection in the most simplest way. There's a lot of jargon out there, by the way. There's a lot of fancy words that have been put across. I'm one of those people that will learn all of that, complexities of health and business, and I like to just simplify it down for people. Again, communication, so that they get it and they understand. They can go away and sort of create their own lane with it. And it does talk, I talk quite deeply and raw about my father and my journey through entrepreneurship and why I've gone down not just the physical health, but I've gone down to emotional and mental health, down to spiritual as well. Wow. Like I've done a lot of woo-woo stuff in the last 2 years, and I can't wait to go out into Colombia and just do some plant medicine stuff. Like it's just, it inspires me. It's creative stuff. It's playful. And intuitively, I know that's the right thing for me to go next, which is the next level for me to grow into the leader that I know that I am, and I'm capable of doing so much more. So that book kind of just takes you through this journey of all aspects of health throughout the whole book. Yeah, like I can't wait. It's going to be great.
And it's going to add so much value to people's lives, because this isn't just a book about Shim Ravalia. There's lots in there about Shim, obviously. But it's about the journey that you now take other people on, and why wait when they can get it in their hands themselves. Yeah. Now, you mentioned the woo. We had lots of conversations about the name of the book.
Yes.
I have my preference of name just from the amount of books I've published, which had a combination of the woo, the do, and the poo from the gut intuition side, which I'm still rooting for the title, but we both know that's not the title of the book. So tell our viewers, our listeners, the name of the book, and obviously we will have some details in the description. If you're watching this or if you're listening to it, it'll be in the show notes, so that you guys can register for the priority list of that, so you can get your copy of the book. So tell us, Shim, a bit more about the book, the name, and also when we're hoping to launch it.
Yes. So the name of the book, drum roll, is Cut Out the Bullshit. Because yes, there's physical stuff that we have to cut out. There's emotional and mental stuff, and even some spiritual aspects of it as well. I love the name. I'm still toying with what kind of images I want to put on the front cover. It's just, again, I had a huge reminder from just working with you, Chloë, and your team. It's the fact that bring your playful side into this, because I was being really serious about it. I was like, no, I want to say this and I want to say that. I was like, actually, I need to cut out my own bullshit here and just actually add my humor to it, because you know my sense of humor is very sarcastic, it's very deadpan almost, and I just think that's part of me, that's part of my personality. And so I was just like, cut out the bullshit. It actually fits really well. Intuition says yes. Great.
Nice. Love that. And that will be launched. It will be launching at the end of this year. Yeah. So, or nearer the end of the year. So if you haven't already got yourself in the details of that list, do make sure you jump on the list. Now, Shim, I've loved talking to you. We literally do talk 4 days and hours nonstop. So it's been great to talk about other aspects, particularly for our listeners and our viewers as well, to join us. I always sort of forget a little bit that we have got cameras on us. So it's been great to be able to chat to you more for their benefit as well. You've met some incredible people in your life. And you've been on a very long business journey in comparison to most, especially some of the guests that we have on the podcast. Who would you say has been the most inspiring person that has guided you, or even you've seen online, on stage, that has supported you and inspired you on your journey so far?
Great question. There's loads. I would say it would have to be Jennifer Aniston, simply because, I mean, I'm a huge Friends fan, by the way. But in the 90s, like, she got a lot of stick for how she looked, what diet she was on, how much weight she lost, how much weight she put on. Like, it was just constant, like, badgering of, you should be doing this, you should have done that. And she basically did 2 fingers up the society and went, nope, I'm going to just do what I need to do and what I feel is right. And she's really into, like, her health, mental health, emotional health. And she's not just done acting. She's gone on to doing various other entrepreneurial businesses and production companies and things like that. And I was like, that is inspiring. Like, she just, like the Rachel haircut, all that sort of stuff. Like, that was really admirable for me. For, like, in the 90s, I would have probably started like 10, 11, really understanding who Jennifer Aniston was. And I just think it's always been with me. I was like, don't worry about what you look. And I think that's the biggest problem of visibility and, you know, women particularly just showing up. I was like, I might not look right. Maybe I might look a bit, you know, chunky or fat or whatever. And I definitely had those thoughts before. But just understanding that, hey, if Jen can do it, it's okay. I can do it too. It's fine. And sometimes you need to just borrow that just to get yourself on the path. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Jennifer Aniston.
And I can imagine how that's helped in the health and fitness industry for you to get into that industry, because that is very, what do I look like focused. It's very much like, what's my image, what are people seeing, what are they thinking, especially when you are the trainer, personal trainer, the sports therapist. There's a lot of it of people's reactions to you.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really interesting one to go down
Yeah.
the path. Totally off topic. You have no idea I'm going to ask you. Hell, you don't know I'm going to ask you any of these things, but you're definitely not going to expect this.
I'm used
What
to
is
it.
your favourite Friends moment?
Oh, my favourite Friends moment. It's when they're all playing football.
I know what one you're talking about. Yeah.
It's when it's like Thanksgiving football, and like Rachel's not like interested, like she's just like eating a pretzel, and then some of them are really competitive, and actually it's Ross and Monica that really remind me of me and my brother. I was like, I love this episode, it's great. And I just love that episode because they're all in one episode together for the whole entire, and I think that just really comes back to family and connection and the friendshood kind of thing. So yeah, I love that episode. I've got loads, but yeah,
I love that. That's amazing. And do you know what? It makes me laugh because everyone always jokes that I'm like Monica with like
Yes.
yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. She's like, that was not even a hesitation with my way of doing things. So I love that. And I just thought we'd throw that in there.
Great. I love
So
it.
final question, because I know we are definitely going to be running out of time very soon. And I know we've got lots of busy listeners.
Yeah.
One of the things I love to do on the show is find out more about inspiring people. So you've obviously been an inspiration to us here. We've been inspired by you today.
Thank you.
Who do you know that has an inspiring story that we should hear next on the show?
I've got loads. Can I have two? Or can I have one? Do I have to have one?
Go on, we'll have to.
Two. So the first inspirational lady that has made a massive difference in my life is Eileen McCotter. She is an entrepreneur. She's helped me develop my coaching, holistic coaching that is, like from inside out. Like, and she's just such a humble person, like always helpful, always adds value. Like she is the type of entrepreneur that just talks about the taboo stuff, deals with the elephant in the room. That is her workshops. And I've been meaning to go back to one of her workshops a lot, but she helped me through lockdown. And she really understood like when I lost my dad and really helped me through that. So yeah, she's totally inspirational, quite quiet. I was like, yeah, she needs to get herself more out there. And the other one is Vicky Beale, good friend of mine, who I actually spoke online and then went to one of her events before lockdown in Milton Keynes. So this is how far and above I would go to just connect with people because she was totally inspiring. Single mum, got her own, she's on Sky TV, she's got her own Sky channel, she's runs a global business, and she does a lot of work with House of Commons, all sorts, like she's incredible, but she's also had an incredible journey getting there as well. So it's totally inspiring. So yeah, just two.
Fantastic. Well, Eileen and Vicky,
Yeah.
you have been called out. Shout out to you. So definitely, thank you so much for sharing that. And ladies, let's see if we can get you guys both on the show to share your inspiring story. So thank you so much, Shim. Obviously, it's been amazing having you on the show. I feel like we could just talk forever. And I doubt this will be the last time we see you on Inspired By.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been awesome just coming to your studio. And it just feels like we're just chatting away, really.
Yeah.
And it's just been incredible. So thank you again.
No problem. Thank you for being here. Well, and thank you to every single one of you for watching or listening. If you have been tuning in on our YouTube channel, there's been loads of mic drop moments in here. There's been loads of golden nuggets. Do share in the comments. What's one thing you're going to take away from this interview with Shim to help you with digging deep or really getting out of your own way? Share in the comments what's been the most inspiring moment for you. If you are watching on your usual podcast platform, do make sure, if you haven't already, that you do subscribe to our show so you don't miss out on any more of our inspiring guests. Next week, we'll be back with another incredible guest that you're going to be inspired by, and we'll see you then.